Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of Analysing Anfield. I am Kristian Walsh and with me as always is Josh Williams. I'll say this once more, we are on your podcast device and we are also on YouTube now. So hello to anyone who's listening and hello to anybody who's watching. You are listening, you are watching Analysing Anfield podcast. Liverpool are top of the league, Josh. 2 wins out of 2 and they are the Super Cup champions. It's all been going on. All been going on since we last sat down and spoke. So what we'll do, we've got a little bit to get through before previewing the Arsenal game, which comes up on Saturday afternoon. I think Chelsea's a little bit too far gone, Josh, but we'll have a little quick spot check around it, and then we'll talk about Southampton, then we'll crack on into Saturday afternoon's game. So first and foremost, top of the league, Super Cup champions, how's it all going?
I think we're quite lucky, to be honest, to be in both positions. I'm not sure it's gone as swimmingly as I thought it would have. But you know, I mean, we're getting over the line. Hopefully, over time, it'll smooth out. Let's make it a little bit more cohesive in how we play and things like that. But we're still getting wins, but it's not as convincing as it felt last season. I think it's safe to say that.
Chelsea were nowhere near as bad as we said they'd be.
They weren't, no.
And you did, to be fair, you did say last week that, you know, okay, they won't necessarily be as bad as they were, but they weren't. So, you know, I think you've got to take that into consideration before anything else, that Chelsea were nowhere near as bad as we thought they might be.
Yeah, one of the things I said, I'm not sure if I said it, or I certainly voted it as the in my piece, that Lampard had to very quickly become pragmatic, basically.
But you did say that.
He had to introduce an element of pragmatism in terms of you can't just set out and with your ideal system of play and all that kind of thing when you're facing a team as good as Liverpool. You've got to adapt. You've got to be a bit more flexible just to take care of certain departments and things like that. And I wasn't sure whether Lampard would do it because there's not much evidence to go on of him doing it. You know, he's doing the job. And he didn't seem to do it at all against United. But, you know, completely new shape. They moved into a 4-3-3 from 4-2-3-1. They pressed in a more measured manner. I'm not sure what the PPDA was on it, but it might have been 11, actually, compared to the previous week against United when it was 7. You know, thereabouts. They had a bit more of a deeper line, more compact, more experience in the team. So he adapted almost as though he'd read the article, to be honest. Hopefully he didn't. And
hopefully he did.
Well, hopefully, I suppose so, yeah.
It'd be nice if Frank was a fan of you, Josh, and of the Analysing Anfield pod. I can imagine he's sitting there on his iPod right now having a listen.
Yeah. But like, I mean, from a Liverpool perspective, it would have been nice if he hadn't, because we could have been any score really. But because he made those changes, the match was a lot tighter. We found it a lot trickier. I didn't think it was a particularly enjoyable game. I thought it was really messy from a Liverpool perspective. But yeah, we managed to win.
Just a couple of things that I want to touch upon. Number one, just you said it was a messy game. The pitch probably didn't help with that. It felt like it was a really, really poor pitch. Just 2 little things about Liverpool from that game. I've just written them down very, very shorthand. Mane is incredible. And Liverpool need to play Firmino in every minute of every game.
Well, I certainly agree on the Firmino shout, because I wrote a response piece after the final and it had a header image on the thing, and the image was just, you got Van Dijk, Fabinho, and was it Matip on the day?
It was Matip, wasn't it?
So you got them 3 forming a situational back 3, and then you've got Salah bombing on, Mane bombing on, Ox bombing on, Robertson bombing on, Henderson bombing on, and we didn't have a midfield, essentially. He selected a team, for me, a team of runners, a team of players who want to chase the ball in behind, run away from the ball, rather than players that want to actually assume the ball, offer a short passing option and things like that. And it just resulted in the first half in us just having a complete lack of connectivity in central zones, offensive central zones, and it was a shambles. I think our passing accuracy was I mean, I don't usually use stats like that, but our passing accuracy was something like 79% or something like that, and our usual is 85, I think. Firmino comes on at half time and immediately offers the link that we were missing. He's more inclined to come short rather than running in behind. So, at the end of that half, I think Liverpool had a passing accuracy of 84 points something, which is obviously much more Liverpool. But that team selection at the start, I wrote when I tweeted it out as the caption, just on 11, that Liverpool shouldn't ever select again. Klopp should never select again, because it didn't have a mix of profiles enough. It had a lot of players, as I said, that want to run away from the ball rather than, which is a skill, by the way. You've got Salah running in behind, Mane running in behind, Ox making penalty runs, but you need a balance of players who are going to, provide a bit of glue, in essence. Trent's a bit of a technician. Trent didn't play. So it was just a bad selection for me, and we luckily got away with it in the end.
So what we'll do is, you say Liverpool got away with it, what we'll do is sort of look at Southampton now, but we'll sort of reference Chelsea as well a little bit again. I think relevantly, in Istanbul, there were issues which showed high line. I think there was, I think there was a high line issue, and there was an issue of conceding shots, and this issue then reared its head yet again against Southampton. So it feels like now it's becoming a trend. It's still early days. You can't read too much into it. The sample size is still small. But I just thought I'd throw this one out to you, Josh. Liverpool against Southampton conceded 10 shots, which was the third game in a row. It's been 10 or more. And just as a bit of a comparison there, Southampton had 8 shots last season, 1 on target, and an XG of 0.43. This season it was 10 shots, 3 on target, and an XG of 0.98. So you're tripling your shots on target. You've had more shots. You've allowed more shots, and also the XG is pretty much, well, it's over double. But the last time Liverpool conceded 10 shots in a game for 3 games on the bounce consecutively, you've got to go all the way back to the start of 2016-17, when they drew 1-1 at White Hart Lane against Spurs. They beat Leicester 4-1 at Anfield, and then they beat Chelsea 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. That's absolutely insane when you think about how long ago that is. Lallana's pinging in 20 yards, absolute howitzers from the edge of the area against Leicester as a number 10. Well, as a number 8/number 10. A lot has changed there. Virgil van Dijk still playing for Southampton. Mo Salah's at Roma. So that's the last time it happened, and that's also probably the time when Liverpool had real defensive concerns. So what's going on?
I think for me, this is the talk at the minute. This is the guesswork that's going on very, very early. Impossible to say definitively. But even at this early stage, given Liverpool's fan base and the level of analysis provided around Liverpool by, the media and things like that, the word this season is that Liverpool have a higher defensive line. I have looked into it since we last briefly mentioned it, but I think we only mentioned after one match, was it, or something like that? Yeah,
I think it was because of a little bit of what was going on in pre-season. I noticed it because I was over in America, so I sort of saw it firsthand there. I think it happened a little bit against City, and it happened again. Pukki scores because the high line is broken against Norwich.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this, I think Liverpool this season have very slightly tweaked the way we defend to coincide with A, VAR, and B, the fact that, okay, we're now champions, give the team something else to almost motivate them, another means of development. Klopp's obviously obsessed with development whenever you hear him speak, and I think rather than maybe doing what City are doing and refining a specific approach to the game that you will eventually perfect, I think Klopp's more about how can we get even better at another element of the game kind of thing. So I think Liverpool I don't think our defensive line is higher, per se. It's not really that. And I think if you was to try and analyse that using data points and things like that, you're going to really struggle, because things like average positions, I don't know, tackles made, aerial duels, they're all going to be roughly in the same areas as last season. I don't think there'll be much of a change there at all. What I am noticing the difference in is Liverpool seem less inclined to retreat and drop off compared to last season. Just when opposing teams maybe get into the middle of the pitch, or when they approach the final third, Liverpool just seem a little bit less inclined for me. The back four seem less inclined to retreat and drop off, and instead they seem to be, situationally pushing up to catch a man offside. And obviously Liverpool have always played offside to an extent, but this seems like, more so than I've seen before. As I say, it's very, very early days. It's impossible to say at this stage, and it's something that we should follow gradually, and we'll get more of a feel after like maybe 10 games. At the minute, I think there's very few data points, as I said, that you can go on at the minute to prove this, but just as a vague, very early example, last season in the Champions League and the Premier League, Liverpool posted 3.14 offsides per match. They caught 3.14 opponents offside per match. This season it currently stands at 6.67.
So they've over doubled
they've almost doubled it, yeah. That's heavily inclined. That heavily derives from the Chelsea match in the Super Cup, because we caught Chelsea offside 9 times in 90 minutes in that game. So although Chelsea have massively influenced this season's sample size, catching the team offside 9 times doesn't happen. So I went and looked at that. Last season, the most we caught a team offside in one match was 7. That happened against Burnley, Arsenal and Napoli. And most matches were like 3 offsides, maybe 4. We caught Norwich offside 5 times, caught Chelsea offside 9. We caught Southampton offside 4, and they are all significant upgrades on the same matches last season.
Yeah.
So it's, as I say, it's very difficult to prove that this is happening without the use of video and things like that. But I am of the belief that we are doing this, and I think that it's happening because I think that one of the impacts it's having on us is the fact that we are now conceding a few more shots, bedding in period with it. We're obviously travelling a lot with the whole Turkey thing, Super Cup over there. We had a bit of a dodgy pre-season, players came back late, so I think the shots we're conceding stems from the fact that we are now defending slightly differently. Obviously VAR provides a guarantee. If you get a player offside, VAR is guaranteed to spot it. So I think that's why we're doing it. It's just a tactical development based on a new law in the game, really, and it makes sense. But for the first couple of weeks, maybe even months, we may have a few problems there.
Okay, so here's one. Here's an interesting one for you. If this is what Klopp's doing, and this is what they've formulated, is this absolutely predicated on Alisson Becker being the goalkeeper? Because you've spoken before about how much overperformance Alisson has done at Liverpool, and therefore he is likely to save shots which are more likely to go in. He will basically save more shots. He will not concede as many goals as he should be conceding because he is an elite goalkeeper. Is that therefore, during pre-season, you look at things and you say, right, okay, so we've got a goalkeeper who can do this. So it's absolutely fine if we allow more shots at goal because we've got a goalkeeper who overperforms to what is expected and therefore he can stop it. Also, bear in mind, he is ultimately a centre-back at times, the way he plays at Liverpool. So is Liverpool doing this absolutely founded in having Alisson Becker as the goalkeeper and not Adrian, for example?
I do think it involves that. Yeah, I think
it's going to be a massive thing if he's not back soon.
Yeah, I think it ties in with the fact we have Alisson as our keeper, who's very inclined to sweep off his line. So if a player does beat the trap and he's in an excessive amount of space, we have a keeper who's comfortable closing him down, closing down the angles, and effectively bossing the one-on-one.
Even look at Sterling when he goes through in the Community Shield. Now, okay, Sterling makes the mistake and he's a little bit, who do I pass to? Do I shoot? Do I pass? But Alisson holds his nerve. Very similar to how we did with Lingard, for example, at Old Trafford last season.
Hazard, Stamford Bridge, that one always comes to mind. And I think alongside Alisson, it stems from the fact we have very, very quick defenders. So if we do play the offside and they beat it, they should be so far away from goal because we're keeping the line high, that considering the likes of Gomez, Trent, Robertson and Van Dijk won't have a ball at the feet, they just get to sprint back. It should give enough to put the player under pressure before he can take his shot. And if you're taking a shot under pressure, it's not going to be an easy finish. Usually the consequence of a player beating the offside trap is that he gets a clear-cut chance one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But as I say, I think because our defence is so quick, the individuals in it, I think we have the belief that by the time the player takes the shot, he'll be under significant pressure by our retreating defenders, and the fact that Alisson's come out to close him down, yeah. And I think Adrian's maybe, how old is he? 32, is he?
31, 32 maybe.
He's obviously less mobile, less quick off the mark and things like that. So it would definitely, put it this way, would definitely be more suited to play in this high line if Alisson was playing. Put it that way.
It's. I don't want to go in too heavy on Adrian. I think he's already a Liverpool hero for what he did in Istanbul. He's clearly a really nice guy, and I think he's a good number 2 goalkeeper. He's absolutely fine as a number 2 goalkeeper. Problem at the moment is that he's been basically thrust in as the number 1. I think what you got to remember against Southampton as well is that he was carrying an injury, and it feels to me when you were watching him, it felt like he with the deepest respect to Andy Lonergan, 60% Adrian is better than 100% Andy Lonergan. I can't believe I've just said that sentence in 2019. But it's little things. I suppose players are maybe struggling with it a little bit. Van Dijk doesn't look as composed at the moment. I think Robertson and Trent are a little bit unsure, and it probably doesn't help that they haven't got Alisson behind them. I go to that Yoshida save. It's a fantastic save from Adrian, but I think Alisson's already caught that from the corner, and I think that's the difference. Again, he's more proactive than Mignolet, for example, but he's not as reactive as Alisson. Very few are.
Yeah, and I think we might as well address it now. I think the error that he made was, for me, that was a concern, and that was clear evidence of a goalkeeper who's not used to playing for the top side. For me, because he's a big character and things like that, and I don't know if you've seen a video on social media of him in a friendly, and he carries the ball up one end of the field to the other end and scores.
No, I haven't seen that.
No. It's a little bit attention seeking, if you want to put it that way. And I don't know. I think when I saw the initial mistake where he just gives the ball to Danny Ings, it's the kind of thing that a keeper would do when he's like trying to be too clever, and he's doing it because he's essentially a little bit bored and he wants to do something that he doesn't have to do just for the sake of being involved. There was a clear open pass to, might have been Joe Gomez. He just stupidly opts to play a clever pass past Danny Ings, and there's no need for it. And I think it was the kind of thing that a keeper would do, as I say, if he was a bit bored, if he wanted to just do something for his own self-gratification kind of thing. So it's something that I think he will hopefully learn from. And it's something that, as I say, I think it stemmed from the fact that he's not used to being so inactive. I think in that second half, Southampton had very few shots, so he had ultimately very little to do. And it relates to the whole results thing. I said that our performances should generally not drop too much, but results may be in the balance, just because if Alisson plays that match, we don't concede that goal, we end up running out easy 2-0 winners, whereas we should have really conceded another goal right after that. The sitter that Danny Ings missed, we end up losing 2 points there as a result of a keeper just being a bit silly. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a concern. Certainly a concern ahead of the weekend. It's just something that hopefully we'll be able to, just keep pressing on and keep managing wins until our main number one's back.
We hope he's back soon. Let's talk about some of the good, interesting things as well then. Oxlade-Chamberlain led the dribbling statistics with 4. And it was just quite nice to see him, wasn't it, in that number 8 position again and doing what he was doing pre-Roma injury.
Yeah, for me, the central midfield role is definitely his best. Definitely feels most comfortable there. I just don't think he's the type of player who's inclined to offer an incisive poaching scoring threat. I don't think he's naturally inclined to be that poacher that we need him to be if he's occupying Mane's role or Salah's role. Whereas if he's in the midfield, he can contribute to more all-round generic aspects of play rather than, decisive actions in the final third. I think that, the fact he's a dribbler, he also offers a fair amount of defensive contribution. So he's a little bit like Naby Keita in that regard. Naby Keita's unique in that he offers an awful lot on both sides of the game. And I think Chamberlain does as well. Chamberlain made, I think it was, Weisgoat have got us 9 interceptions in the match. That's his most in a one-off match since April 2017 versus Spurs, and that was when he still played for Arsenal. So, as you say, he's posting good dribbling numbers, he's posting solid defensive numbers by the looks of it. So he's quite an all-round player that, in the centre of the park, when he's fit and firing, really useful to have.
Feels almost like first choice. I mean, especially when Keita's out. It depends on game situation. We've spoken about the midfield a lot, haven't we? But it feels like Oxlade-Chamberlain could, they could make that position his own. Yeah,
there's a belief that he couldn't possibly play in a midfield with Fabinho and Naby Keita, and I don't really know where that stems from. People look at it and go like, it looks too offensive or whatever, which is true, but that doesn't matter. It's about the system as a whole, and they both offer. It's not like they both don't provide anything defensively, and they're both purely attacking players. Like Shaqiri, for example, they're both 2 really top quality defensive players who are incredibly good at pressing and things like this, regaining the ball. So that's hopefully a selection that we'll eventually see. I think it's plausible. I think it's doable.
You just maybe ask Robertson and Trent not to go so far forward because they'll be naturally drifting out wide, because Keita drifts out to the left, Oxlade-Chamberlain maybe to the right, Salah and Mane go in field. In that situation, you've got your 5 forwards and your 5 defenders, because you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita, Firmino, Salah, Mane, just as as an example, and then you've got Fabinho and the back 4. That's no real difference than if you had a more workman-like 3 in the midfield who don't necessarily go forward, but you've got Trent and...
Yeah, exactly. It just depends.
It's a 5 and a 5, whichever way you pay. It's just different positions and different players.
Yeah, like say for example, we was playing, for argument's sake, Crystal Palace. Where's Crystal Palace's threat for me on the flanks?
Zaha.
Who've they got through the middle? Kristian Benteke scored 2 goals in about 2 years. No threat there. In central midfield, they've got Luka Milivojevic. I think I've just got that right.
Yeah, you have. Well done.
Maybe Max Meyer. Does he play central midfield?
Max, he had a stinker.
Or Kouyaté or someone like that.
He had a stinker. Meyer against Sheffield United. I don't think he'll be playing much longer, but yeah.
But centrally, they haven't got much of a threat. So you can then instruct, okay, play Naby and Ox as a pairing alongside Fabinho. They can both advance a little bit higher. And then on the flanks, Palace have got Wilf Zaha and maybe Andros Townsend on the opposite side. So Trent and Robertson stay a little bit deeper. Just mix it up with little things like that. It provides options.
Want to just talk about actually, now we're talking about Trent and Robbo, we'll just mention that. Against Norwich, Robertson had 9 crosses, Trent 8. Against Southampton, it was 14 crosses from Trent and 4 from Robbo. Is there anything to read into that a little bit? Because I've been a little bit underwhelmed with Robertson. I've been a bit underwhelmed with both of them, I suppose, a little bit, just because their standards were so high at this, throughout last season. But is there anything to read into that? Is there any concern about the fullbacks at the moment, or are they just sort of finding their feet and getting up to speed for the season?
I don't think there's a great deal of concern there yet, simply because we're 3-4 games into the season. Really, I shared that thought on Robertson. I thought specifically away at Southampton. Just didn't think he was very good, to be honest. I thought his first touch was a little bit off. If your first touch is off, then you're going to be buying time really in whatever actions you have to do. I'm not too sure as to why Robertson posted so much lower crossing figures than Trent. Maybe he was fulfilling a more defensive role. Or
Valerie's a good right back, isn't he?
Yeah,
on the sly, he's a good. I mean, I know he played the wing back system, but he's a good right back. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, possibly, but it's something maybe worth keeping an eye on. But I do agree that I think certainly offensively, I think Robertson could be offering a little bit more, certainly based on what we used to.
And talk about Mane and Firmino just for a moment. Josh spoke about them a little bit. Well, certainly Firmino against Chelsea, but Mane, 5 key passes and just an incredible goal. I mean, is he the Wales' most underrated player? I know that's, what is rated, who rates who. It's a very, very loaded question, that, but it just feels like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. In 2019, he's been up there with the absolute best.
Yeah, he's just an absolute top level player, elite player. Never injured, doesn't need much rest at all. Lightning quick, unpredictable, 2-footed, great with his head. You can't ask for much more than that. And 5 key passes as well in one match. For those that don't know, a key pass is a pass that leads to a shot. So I'm not sure how many shots Liverpool had in that match, but if he's assisted 5 of them, that's a fair contribution. And that's something that last season we maybe pointed out that in terms of creativity and assists, that could be something he can improve upon. So if he provide 5 key passes in one match, and I think against Southampton as well, he really stepped up. We wouldn't have won that game without Mane playing for me. So yeah, just a top player. And I think he really epitomises Jurgen Klopp. Really, I think he epitomises what Klopp's football stands for. I think Mane is very, very erratic, takes a lot of risks, a bit all over the place, or he can certainly look that way even if he's not. Fast, energetic, aggressive, hard work and superb defensively. He's just a real Klopp player, I think, Sadio Mane. And yeah, I'd go along with the shout that he's underrated. Although usually the things like that usually end up going the opposite way, and then people start saying he's underrated, and then people start saying like he's better than Salah. In my opinion, he's better than Salah, but he's not. I wouldn't say that, but he's still an unbelievable player. Underrated in most aspects, yeah, I'd say. I
think you've just broken the internet, by the way. I reckon if you are, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, tell Josh what you think about him saying that Salah's better than Mane. Let's get a bit of argument going on social media.
I just think that the moment someone says a player is underrated, he's no longer
you
underrated.
Start looking at you, and then any little contribution they make, you go, did you see that?
Yeah, exactly.
And
that happened with Henderson. I think Henderson
definitely
got slated for years, and then he started playing 2 diagonals a match, and people was like posting compilations of it on YouTube and things like that.
Bernardo Silva. It's just like, he's so underrated. Like he was nominated for Player of the Year. Like he's pretty widely accepted as one of the league's best players. How rated can you be?
Yeah, you're underrated until someone tells you you're underrated, and at that point you gradually start becoming overrated, to be honest.
But then again, Mane was obviously up in the mix for the Player of the Year as well, so maybe he isn't that underrated. Just wanted to touch on Firmino. I put this on social media on Saturday. It reminds me a little bit of Carlos Tevez, when he was so good at United, and we don't really have data on that. I know it's more got to use your eyes here, but I mean, do you see where I'm coming at with that comparison? That it's strong, tenacious. He just looks a lot stronger this year, but also not a lot more mobile. I think he's always been mobile. He just seems a lot more fleet-footed this season. There's a little bit more sharpness to him. There's a little bit more agency about him.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the sharpness. He definitely looks really sharp. His first touch is immaculate so far, and that's a massive part of his game. Considering he's a link player, and he's the player that kind of like provides the glue in the final third. He does that a lot, and I've said this a lot, by just linking the play with his first touch, not controlling the ball, turning, changing his angles and all this. He just links the play immediately with his first touch of the ball, and that allows us to progress up the field quickly, get from A to B in as few passes as possible, kind of thing. And that's why we're so good at counter-attacking. So, yeah, I think he looks on his game. I don't think he's going to be maybe not provide the scoring output of Tevez. I'm not sure what Tevez got in his best season. 20 plus. I think he shared the golden boot, in fact, in one season.
He did, with Aguero, maybe?
I'm not too sure on that, but, you know, in terms of providing a penetrative threat and things like that, Firmino's historically not the best for that. This season he's only taken, this is based on Charity Shield, Community Shield, Super Cup, and our 2 league matches so far. Obviously not many minutes, but he's only averaging 1.83 shots per match. The guys that score the most usually post over 3 shots per match, so I think Firmino's just simply too generous and not selfish enough to be Liverpool's top scorer this season, for example. I think he's just more inclined to do, you know, the grafting side of the game and the supplying side.
I think he's actually second at the moment. Again, the smallest sample size ever, 2 games, but I think he's second expected goals and assists.
He is, yeah. Because he posted 1.15 against Norwich. Yeah, he had 4 shots against Norwich. That was a superb performance. If he's taking 4 shots per match, that's can't ask for much more than that. But then he took none in the Super Cup, having played about 79 minutes. Took 2 against Southampton. Took 1 in the 82 minutes he played against City in the Community Shield. So he's just not that player. He's just not the player that finishes the moves. Usually he's the player that is just before that, really. But we need that player. That's not like a knock on him or anything like that. That's a player we struggle without, really.
I'm astounded by Tevez's numbers here.
Say that again.
I'm astounded by Tevez's numbers. I've completely misremembered him as a player. How many goals do you reckon he scored for Man United in the 08-09 season?
How many matches?
So we'll go with Premier League. 29 Premier League games. How many goals do you reckon he scored? 1,860 minutes. Sorry, I know this is a Liverpool podcast. It's just absolutely it's relevant.
If he scored on 15, then he scored on 1 and 2.
That wasn't the season he was top scorer, by the way. This is the season he went toe to toe with Liverpool, obviously. Right. 08-09. So that's when he had Berbatov, Rooney. Did they have Berbatov?
I'm not sure. It's too far back for me there.
I think they did. I'll tell you it anyway. Go on. 5 goals.
5 goals?
5 goals. He scored 15 in all competitions, but that was, he scored 2 in the Champions League. The season after they win the league, they get the 90 points against Liverpool's 86. He moves to Manchester City and he scores 29 goals.
He scored 29,
29 goals in 41 games. 42. 29 and 42. I'm astounded. And then the season after, he gets 20 league goals in 31 league games. I'm absolutely, and then he goes on strike.
On strike, yeah.
But I'm absolutely astounded by that. But yeah, so maybe he is a United. I mean, Firmino scores more than Tevez did there for United. Tevez's best United Premier League season was 07-08 when he got 14 in 34. So maybe he reminds me of Tevez, but I think Firmino's probably a better scorer, certainly when he was at United.
Yeah, that's quite surprising.
Yeah, that's amazing. We won't dwell too much longer on Manchester United 08-09 numbers. Instead, we will look to Arsenal 2019-20, Josh. Liverpool play Arsenal at Anfield on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff UK time. So let's talk a little bit about Arsenal and also a little bit about Liverpool. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and this is what's been getting said all summer, especially when they signed Nicolas Pepe from Lille. Obviously, he was a player that was linked with Liverpool. Liverpool were never really interested in him, despite what his agents were saying. But they're yet to unleash that front three. So Willock has been playing in centre mid, and Reece Nelson's been playing. Lacazette didn't even start against Newcastle on the opening day. So Aubameyang was on his own against Newcastle. Then he brought in Lacazette against Burnley. Is this the game where we might see the whole front three?
I think it's definitely possible, considering Arsenal will surely approach the game expecting to be the inferior team. Usually the inferior team has to rely on basically counter-attacks as a means of offering a threat. And Pepe is a really, really useful player for that kind of thing. Really good on the transition, good at carrying the ball up the field on his own. And he's fast. And then obviously you've got Aubameyang on the opposite flank, who's also equally as quick. They both offer real threats in terms of scoring. And then you've got Lacazette through the middle, who offers a Firmino-esque dynamic.
It's crazy how he's nowhere. He's not on Firmino's level, but I always thought of Lacazette at Lyon as this sort of quick striker who gets in behind the line and just is an absolute goal scorer. He's all round. He's on the quiet. He's a really good all round player for Arsenal and links it all together.
He is a good all round player, yeah. I think he's got a bit more of a scoring threat about him than Firmino, but I think Firmino's better just in terms of linking the play, better defensively, obviously. I think he's more of a team player and things like that. But yeah, it is interesting considering they haven't actually used it yet, but they could really just completely copy Liverpool's dynamic. I think sometimes people will say that and they'll be off the mark, but this is genuinely, they do have a very similar makeup to Liverpool's. Liverpool's front three just simply works usually so well because you got two wide, fast scoring threats who are inclined to run behind, coupled with the guy in the middle who's inclined to drift the opposite way. So if you're an opposing defender, you're getting pulled backwards, forwards, and at the end of the day, there's probably going to be someone left. If you don't follow Firmino has time to receive the ball, turn and face the goal. If you don't follow Salah, but you follow Firmino, then you open up a channel behind you. Salah can dart into it. So it's a pretty simple dynamic that Liverpool provide, but not many teams seem to have actually, copied it or went down that route. But Arsenal right now, with Pepe's addition, could absolutely do that. And considering, as I said, that they're not going to have as much possession as they used to, and they're going to be focused on counter-attack, and maybe they'll do so at Anfield. It remains to be seen.
Sample size far too small, Josh. But Arsenal last season had the best XG per shot. Is that right?
Yeah.
So and Liverpool second.
Liverpool second best, yeah.
But they're actually bottom half after the opening two games this season. It's early days, you can't really look into that. And also the talk of Liverpool looking a bit shaky at the back. But Arsenal conceded the same XG per shot over the last two games as well. So I think what you're seeing here at the moment from a very, very small sample size is two teams that have been defending in it or certainly giving up a similar types of chances. And also an Arsenal side who are not necessarily creating excellent chances. But then, Newcastle away, Burnley at home, they're not traditionally teams who will give much away in that sense. Are you anticipating? I find this really fascinating because Liverpool had the best defence in the league last season. They won 5-1. They conceded 2 goals or more in, 1-2 games last season?
Something like that, yeah.
And yeah, everyone I've seen on social media and some think pieces that people have written are anticipating 3-2, 4-3, 5-4. How's this perception changed so quickly?
I think it's changed because, Liverpool are defending differently for me. We are defending with this new tweak that we want to obviously integrate, and it's resulting in a few more shots being conceded, a bit less cohesion, and a bit more openness, really. So I think in the early stages of this season so far, we've went more in the direction of Arsenal, whereby we are allowing chances to be posed on our goal. Arsenal got outshot by Newcastle and Burnley. 8 shots versus Newcastle. Steve Bruce's side took 11. 15 shots against Burnley. Oh, sorry, Burnley also had 15 shots, so they haven't actually won the shot count yet. So I think Liverpool obviously a better version of Arsenal.
How'd you have 15 shots against you at the Emirates against Burnley?
Exactly. That's the route we're going down in the early stages of this season, because we're allowing
11 against Norwich.
11 against Norwich.
10, yeah.
How many against Southampton?
It was 10.
It was 10, yeah. So it's not great, and it's something that last season our average across the full campaign, all competitions, I think was 7.7 shots per 90. So this season we have gone more in that direction, and that does suggest that when Liverpool meet Arsenal in a fixture, it should be quite open. It should be, unless Liverpool go back to the last season's roots, which I don't think we'll do, it should be quite an open game. There should be goals. And I think this time around, unlike Norwich, Southampton, Newcastle and Burnley, both Arsenal and Liverpool both have serious quality in attack that can actually finish chances. So if the game is as open as it usually is for both teams based on this season, and players like Aubameyang, Salah, Mane, Pepe, Lacazette, Firmino are taking the shots, as opposed to, I don't know, Joe Linton, Ashley Barnes.
I'll hear nothing bad said about Ashley Barnes. he's smashing the XG.
No, he's not bad. I'll give him that. Yeah, he was up front for Southampton.
Danny Ings. Che Adams. Yeah, Danny Ings came on, didn't he?
The quality isn't as high, so they're not going to be as clinical. So it will be interesting to see how the match goes. If Liverpool had defended how they defended last year, then I'd be saying, yeah, people expecting a 5-3 are wrong. They shouldn't be expecting that. But I do think that this season, that's a reasonable expectation, simply because of how open both teams have been in certain moments.
Isn't this a bit of a mistake? Because basically the thing about Liverpool, they're basically looking to be like this.
Yeah.
Because the thing about last season is, and completely turns down the fourth wall here, I'm a very, very nervous watcher of football, and I'm probably on the negative side. This podcast has helped calm me down, because you look at the actual analytics behind things, and you actually sort of go, remove the emotion from it a little bit and go,
there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about. And last year there was nothing to worry about, because Liverpool are only going to give up about 6 or 7 shots per game. They've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world when facing those shots, and Liverpool are probably going to take about 10 to 12 shots per game themselves, and they've got some of the best attacking players in the world. Is it not turning this into a bit more of a gunslinging contest, of a bit more of what you saw under Rodgers, a little bit more of the 17-18 season, whereby variance matters more than anything? Because Liverpool last year against Arsenal won 5-1. Yeah, Arsenal started well, but after 20 minutes they shut them down pretty much, and you were confident about Liverpool. Here, if Liverpool go 2-0 up, you're still going, what's going on? So I mean, not to say if it isn't broke, don't fix it, but
I know exactly.
It just feels a little bit of a wild move.
No, I know exactly where you're coming from, but I think from Klopp's perspective, again, that obsession with development, and I think we're doing it with view to eventually just being a better and more complete team. And the problem is with that, you have to go through an initial bedding in period where you're adjusting, and there's the odd flaw. But as I said, I think this is being done with view to eventually being a really complete, immaculate team. And I think that's why we do so well in Europe, because we are very adaptable. You can cope with all different types of match scenarios. I think Man City, on the other hand, very idealistic, used to play in one set way. And if they do maybe have to hold on to a lead, or if they do have to cope with a certain threat that they're not used to dealing with against Burnley on the weekend, or something like that, I just think they're not as suited to different match scenarios as Liverpool are. And I think, although it's a risk what we're doing, I think it's a calculated risk with view to being better ultimately. And I've thought to myself, maybe Liverpool will drop this new means of defending for this one-off match because of how fast the opposing team are. But then I've also thought to myself, that won't happen. That's not going to happen. I think we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Klopp's never gone 5 at the back to repel Man City. He's not going to do it for Arsenal, is he? He's not going to change the way they're defending.
No, but even the offside trap, I don't think we'll put that offside trap on hold for this one-off match. I think we'll play it again, purely because we're doing it for the sake of development. We will get better as a means of doing it.
This is this is completely going off script here. This is not that we have a script. just to sort of clarify that. Have Liverpool written off this season? Not written it off, but have they looked and gone, look, Man City are only going to get better. We're not going to win the league this season. We might as well develop and become a 100-point team ourselves next season. Does that even enter anybody's heads? Am I just completely going left field here?
I doubt we've written anything off. I think it's more a case of
not saying the average, just
you know what Liverpool are like in terms of gaining an edge and being ahead of the curve, things like that. And I think with VAR being a very, very new development, I think Liverpool are again just looking to do a bit of that, whereby we are taking advantage of something that is new, being very open and welcoming to what's new, rather than going the opposite way and trying to stay all traditional with it. Liverpool have made tracks in recent years by constantly developing based on whatever is new, and I think this is just a kind of change that we'll have moved on to, and we'll have opened our arms to, just as a means of development and pushing on from what we would have maybe considered as the top, because we're European champions. We've won the most prestigious trophy in Europe. Maybe we'd sit on that and go, okay, Sam, we're good now. But obviously Klopp doing this is a kind of a message, I think, whereby we can keep going, we can be even better, kind of thing. So, but against teams like Arsenal, especially in the early stages of this development, it's certainly more riskier than most opponents. It's going to be a high risk strategy. Like,
this will be the worst game in terms of, you look at the fixture list, and I don't think Burnley are going to be cutting through Liverpool in this, or are going to take advantage of this at all. I don't think Newcastle are. Chelsea will obviously be an interesting one as well. And then I can't remember who the following game is. Might be Leicester, maybe. Oh God, Jamie Vardy.
I think the early stages of this match this is a complete guess, but it might go along the same lines as the early stages of the Community Shield, where Sané was getting constant openings against Trent. Hopefully not, but I think that's just what happens when you try to impose such a risky strategy against players who are quick and clever enough to exploit the fact that there's loads of space in behind, and players who are better with the movement than just negligently drifting offside without even being aware you're doing it. I think Aubameyang's got more about him, for example, than just being easy to catch offside like that. So yeah, it's certainly interesting ahead of this weekend, and a little bit more concerning than usual. I'm usually very, very assured in how I believe we'll approach a game defensively, but just with me lately realising that I do think this is happening. I think this is a bad opponent to play for while you're learning to get to grips with that.
Good, I'm glad you're worried, because I am. I've put it's a big concern for me. I really don't want to sound down. I mean, Liverpool. No, yeah, it's weird. It's the start of the season. It's sample size of very small. I think also what you've got to remember here is that Arsenal lost the XG to Burnley.
Yeah,
they allowed Newcastle. They allowed 15 shots, and they probably definitely shouldn't be on 6 points out of 6. I'm not judging on the fact that they're on 6 points out of 6. What I say is Liverpool probably shouldn't be on 6 points out of 6 either. But the big concern for me, and this is, let's take away the fact that Liverpool could absolutely obliterate Arsenal's defence. That's fine. We know that. Going the other way, the concern for me is the front three play, the three that haven't played yet, Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette. There's going to be that long ball over from Robertson and Trent. and it just feels like they've got to sort of think about that as well as this current Aubameyang, springing the offside trap or breaking the offside trap, that kind of thing. I think they've probably got to think about maybe the fullbacks and leaving too much space, because Sterling and Sane, before he got injured against Liverpool in the Community Shield at Wembley, had a lot of joy down there, and our fullbacks looked more in trouble then than they have done in a long, long time.
Yeah, I just think it depends ultimately how Arsenal set up on the day. They've been playing 4-2-3-1 in both matches so far. They've included Joe Willock in both matches as a central midfielder. Who,
according to Kevin Nolan, is better than Fabinho.
Yeah,
you saw the Sky Sports team of the one of those combined teams that they do. Kevin Nolan,
where you desperately try to fit in some
Arsenal players. Let's face it, it's probably 11. I love the fact that they also just put Leno in because everyone was too scared because it's an easy one because Alisson's injured.
Yeah,
it's like no, come on, we're putting Alisson in. But anyway, yeah, Willock centre mid.
Yeah, they've had, as you say, Nelson in the attack. Yeah, Danny Ceballos came in and played as number 10, although he was absolutely everywhere. Wasn't strictly a number 10 role on the weekend.
Is he good?
Oh, he was unreal.
I just in general though, is he? I'm always wary of a player that.
No, it was
Real Madrid let go.
Absolute majestic performance. It was. He was everywhere. You want them players that you play with down the park, where like any time you're in any kind of bother, just give them the ball. They'll sort it. And he was like that. Super composed, great decision maker, good defensively too without the ball, and he weren't particularly fast either. At all, in fact. He's not the strongest. He's a big lad, but he's not the strongest. He's just one of them that you've everyone's played with them throughout their life. These players that are they just demand the ball off everyone, and everyone's fully willing to just give them it and let them do what they want with it. And, I mean, coming to Anfield and doing it, in that environment's a different story to doing that at home to Burnley. But nevertheless, it was a very impressive debut performance. Anyway, just on Arsenal, on what Arsenal are going to select, it remains to be seen whether the ball's over the top of Trent and Robertson will be a problem, because it does depend on the formation they select, the personnel they select. By all accounts, that Torreira is going to come in for Willock, just as a means of integrating some defensive stability. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pepe did come in for Nelson. Maybe Ceballos will stay as the 10. Who knows? But it's a difficult one to strictly predict before the match kicks off and before we see the lineups.
Would you even consider playing Gomez right back, for example?
Away, I would. But I think just with it being at Anfield, I think I wouldn't do that. No. I mean, you got to bear in mind, last season against Arsenal and Anfield, we played 4-2-3-1. We were that, like, what's the word? We weren't fussed at all by them, to the extent that we were willing to play 4-2-3-1 with Shaqiri playing. And it was almost as though Klopp was like, we'll just have a knockout bout with you and see who knocks the other fighter out first.
And Firmino rolled up his sleeves and went absolutely haywire.
Yeah, we posted an XG of 3.41 in that match.
That was just stunning, but that's forgotten in the annals of last season, because there were so many moments. But they beat Arsenal 5-1, absolutely demolished them. Yeah,
15 shots to 6, just destroyed them. So, they're not an opponent that we overly have to be massively concerned about. We are a better team now, without doubt. It's just a case of because I personally think Liverpool are doing this new thing for the sake of development. This is just not the most ideal opponent to face, because of the qualities and the skills they have in comparison to most other opponents.
Spoke about Oxlade-Chamberlain before. Would you give him a chance against his former club?
Yeah, I'd have no problem if Ox started. I don't think I've got a preferred midfield in mind for this match. I think Ox or Henderson would both be fine, providing they both provide that harrying thing in the midfield. And I think that's one thing worth noting on the highline thing. If we are opting to choose to hold the line rather than retreating, it's important for the midfielders to then put pressure on the ball, or otherwise the likes of Ceballos can lift his head and play a ball over the top, and that's obviously what you don't want. So an added emphasis gets put on the midfield. But Ox provides that for me, so there's not much of a problem there.
I think for me as well, Oxlade-Chamberlain, just in case we do need to see Trent Alexander-Arnold hold him back a little bit. And again,
that's a good point,
it gives you that. We've spoken about the let's say the solid three that Liverpool can sometimes play. You need your fullbacks there, sort of picking up the attacking slack. Whereas if Trent can't get forward as much, who would it be on his side? It would be Pepe. No, it'd be Aubameyang.
Yeah.
So it feels very much like if you play Oxlade-Chamberlain, Trent doesn't have to get forward as much.
Yeah.
Final bit. I don't want to end negatively. Just another thing. If that front three plays, Adrian doesn't sweep as well as Alisson. And obviously there's this thing about the high line, Arsenal on the counter. Is that another worry? Does it just come back to the fact that it's not just on Adrian, it's on the fact that the midfield have got to harry and make sure that Ceballos isn't pulling the strings, and the high line's got to be absolutely spot on?
No, it is a worry, yeah, it is. Just simply because of reasons we've covered, really, regarding Adrian not being as quick off his line. He's not as dominant when dealing with one-on-ones. Doesn't save over an unexpected rate. So if he's presented, and what I said before as well about the likes of Van Dijk being able to catch the usual opponent, Aubameyang with a head start could be a different story there. So that might just result in a straight up one-on-one, which you'd probably, I think it's realistic to suggest that Aubameyang would probably win that and boss it. And it results in a goal being scored. So I do think it'll be one of them high-risk matches. Certainly for Liverpool. I'm not sure what Arsenal are going to go with specifically, but considering we are imposing this slightly new defensive tweak, we have a backup goalkeeper who's not as mobile, playing against a very speedy attacking line. It's just going to be one of them, I think, where specifically you aren't going to cope very well.
I was going to say, if it is have here before, I probably won't have it by about 7:30 on Saturday. I know you never make predictions, Josh, but where do you I feel like this is a really hard one to predict. I think if Liverpool can navigate this, then they're in a really good position, because I'm looking at the fixtures, and Chelsea away is the only one where you look at and you go, that's going to be tough. Even the way, I know they haven't started great, but there's a real opportunity here for Liverpool to, before the Man United away game at least, to I think it's play 8, win 7, draw 1, for example, or even win all 8. So, where do you reckon is going here?
I do think we win. I do think we win the match, but I think it's going to be more of a shootout than last season. We got asked it early in the pre-season about, like, is there a problem with Liverpool's defence? And I was just like, it's nothing to worry about. It's just a lack of cohesion. We haven't got enough players involved that we usually see. Which, that was true, but at that stage I had no awareness of Liverpool trying to defend slightly differently in certain moments, using an offside trap, which I do think now we are doing. So, as I said, until we master that, we are going to concede shots. I think we're going to look a bit more open in certain moments. Teams are going to get behind us in certain moments, more so than usual. Arsenal are very capable of doing that because of the speed and the passing quality in midfield. So, as I said, I do think both teams will have at least 10 shots each, more than that probably, and it's going to be a case of which team is the most clinical, I think. But just because of the level at Liverpool are at, Liverpool's defence being better in terms of individuals than Arsenal's defence, I think Liverpool will win, but it could be, we could easily go a goal down. It could end up 3-2, something like that. But I think we're in for an entertaining one, I'd say that.
Entertaining, excruciating is all the same to me. One last thing before we go, actually, Josh. Man City drew 2-2 against Tottenham and managed to post the next year 3 goals.
This is definitely worth mentioning this. Definitely.
It's one of those things where it's absolutely brilliant and hilarious, and also it's great for Liverpool because they are on 6 points, Manchester City are on 4. If Liverpool win 36 more league games, they are champions. I mean, we knew that anyway. But probably long term is not good if Man City are hosting the next year 3 against the third best sides in the country. It really
crazy.
is. It's
crazy.
Talk about variance. If we can get that all season, that's fine. But it's just it's unreal.
I got a tweet through me this week. I don't know if you've seen it.
I think that's why I'm bringing it up. Someone tweeted and said, "Are you going to bring it up?" It's like, yes, we are.
I suggested that we maybe open the pod with just 5 minutes straight of laughing because it was. I mean, God help us trying to justify the usefulness of XG, and that doesn't happen.
Analysing Etihad, their heads are falling off trying to talk about this one. And what would you call the Analysing Tottenham one? Analysing Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That doesn't really work, does it?
I don't know.
But
just City. 28 shots we've got them at on my scout. 3 shots for Spurs, including one from the halfway line.
Was that Kane?
That was Kane.
Does he have?
Yeah, it was that.
He just has won a game now, doesn't he?
It was that bad that Guardiola after the match said that wasn't a shot.
Guardiola taking on Opta.
Yeah. So Man City posted next year with 3.24. Spurs posted next year with 0.18.
That's generous, that's generous on Lamella.
That just doesn't happen. That's just incredibly unlucky, and that's where like you're not taking your chances, or something's gone wrong, or there's an incredible degree of variance, or it's
ultimately they've missed chances. VAR, Ederson's had a bit of a nightmare for the first. It feels like it goes down the middle. They kind of miss company in those situations. I think that's an interesting point. That's the one where you can't really get any data about it, but it feels like a 2-2 company rallies them and they win 3-2.
Yeah, and just before as well, I had a little look before on Liverpool's shots this season. The shots that we've allowed on our goal. Just getting it up now, and the gap between every team and City is crazy. So Liverpool, up to now, okay, we're doing this new defensive thing, but I think we are. We've allowed 21 shots on our goal. Arsenal have allowed 26. Chelsea have allowed 19. Man United have allowed 24. City have allowed 8.
Oh.
They're averaging 3.7 shots against them per match. We've already conceded 21. So that means it should take them 7 games before they've conceded as many shots on goal as we have already.
You've got Bournemouth this week, so it'll be interesting to see, because we know Bournemouth like a shot.
Yeah.
Against good teams. They'll lose 7-1, but they'll have a shot.
Yeah. And in terms of shots taken, again, Liverpool have took 30, Spurs have took 31, Arsenal have took 23. I've got to scroll down for United. United have took 15. And City 41.
Yeah.
So this is the playing field that we're on at the minute. We just need to keep pressing on really until Guardiola fancies another job somewhere else.
Keep pressing on and just jib off that defensive line.
We'll get there.
Just go back. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Josh. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week. We'll be dissecting the Arsenal game. I might have even less here than before, and we'll look ahead to Sean Dyche and Burnley, and you know that we'll have loads to talk about Sean Dyche and Burnley and their weird ways of XG. So thanks very much for joining us. Hope you enjoy the game on the weekend, and take care.